I never thought I could find strength in silence. 7 minutes that will change your life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The day the world went still, yet my heart raced like it had to escape my chest. It started with a call. Just a grainy whisper in the night. It's gone. Gone. The word hung in the air, thick and suffocating. I didn't even need to ask what they were talking about. I knew. I dropped my phone, the impact echoing in my empty apartment. Silence enveloped me like a shroud. My mind was screaming, but my lips trembled, paralyzed by the weight of loss. My brother, Jacob, was everything to me. The laughter in my life, the light in my shadows. And now he was gone. I remembered our last conversation. His voice, warm and teasing, filled with plans, dreams. You'll see, sis. He'll make it big, he had said. Those words replayed in my mind, torture in loops. When did we last share that smile? How could I forget? The picture from last Christmas flashed before May's goofy grin, arms wrapped around me, happiness spilling over the edges. Now, in this agonizing silence, I felt every heartbeat, each one a reminder of his absence. Friends had come and gone, their words like shadows, deep condolences, but no real connections. I was alone in my grief, drowning in this vast ocean of quiet. Every time I glanced at the empty chair where he used to sit, my chest twisted, a painful lump blocking my breath. I didn't want pity, I needed him back. I reached for his favorite mug, the one with the silly cat on it. It was still warm from the last time it held his coffee. Suddenly, a faint sound slithered through the stillness. A whisper, like a forgotten memory. I stood up, trembling, heart racing faster than before. Jacob? I whispered, the word escaping my lips. But only silence answered. Then came a knock. It rattled the walls, pulling me from my thoughts. I opened the door, hope and dread colliding in my chest. Who would dare disturb this somber peace? A girl stood there, soaked from the rain, eyes glistening with unspilled tears. She looked at me, and just like that, I could feel the air crackling with something electric, something I couldn't place. Are you? She hesitated. Are you Jacob's sister? Her voice trembled, pulling me closer, yet pushing me away. My stomach twisted. Who was she? Before I could respond, she pulled something from her pocket. A crumpled note. It had his name on it. My heart stopped. He wanted you to have this, she said, her voice breaking. I reached out, my hands shaking, barely able to grasp the reality unfolding. My mind raced. What could it say? What had Jacob left behind? In that moment, everything felt suspended. The world outside faded into a blur. I was left in a whirlwind of questions. Why was she here? What did my brother want me to know? The weight of the note felt heavy in my palm. The girl turned to leave, glancing over her shoulder. You have to read it. And just like that, she vanished into the rain, leaving me alone with the note. My breath caught in my throat, a whirlwind of emotions pressing down on me. I could feel the silence closing in again, each second stretching endlessly. And there I stood, teetering on the edge of the unknown. Did it hold secrets? Was there something I needed to know? My heart raced, and with trembling hands, I began to unfold the crumpled paper. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The rain drummed against the pavement, a muted symphony underscoring the heaviness in my heart as I carefully unfolded the note. The ink was smudged in places, as if Jacob had hurriedly scribbled down his thoughts, desperate to reach me from beyond. My fingers trembled as I scanned the words, each one pulling at the rawest parts of my grief. Hey sis, it began, his familiar voice floating to me like a breeze, carrying the warmth of past memories. If you're reading this, it means well, not around anymore, and I wish more than anything that I could be. The world feels so big and empty without you. Tears streamed down my face as I continued, desperate to cling to the essence of my brother. He talked about laughter and dreams, about how he wanted to make me proud. It felt surreal, as if he were sitting across from me, his playful spirit whispering these words that I know things feel dark right now. But please, don't let that darkness drown you. Find a way to live, to chase the dreams we talked about. Remember the concert? The one we always said we'd go to together? I want you to go. Feel the music. Let it fill the spaces I've left behind. Each sentence carved into me, the truth shattering me further, but also igniting a flicker of hope. Jacob's voice was in my head, urging me to rise. How could I ignore his plea? I wiped my tears, determined, but it was then that the last line struck like a bolt of thunder. There's something I need to tell you, something you may not understand now. I wanted you to know you're not alone in this fight. I've left something for you. Don't be afraid to find it. The note fell from my hands, crumpling to the floor as a heavy shroud of confusion draped over me. What did he mean? Something left behind? My heart raced again, this time bursting with questions. Why was there still a treasure waiting for me in a world without him? Suddenly, the phone rang, jarring me from my thoughts. It was my mother. I hesitated, emotions swirling a toxic mix of disappointment and a yearning for connection. Could I bear to relive the tragedy through her voice? Hello? I managed to croak, my voice fragmented. NRAW.is this Emily? Her trembling tone held a weight I hadn't anticipated. I heard what happened. I wanted to check on you. I could hear her tears, the sorrow echoing through the phone. I don't think I can talk about him right now, I confessed, suddenly wanting to shield myself from the flood of shared grief. It was one thing to wallow alone, another entirely to share the burden of pain with someone who had also lost integral pieces of her life. Sweetheart, she implored softly, Jacob wouldn't want this for us. He was all about love, about embracing life, even amidst loss. Let his spirit guide us together. Her words washed over me gently, a calming wave in the tempest of my thoughts. Perhaps I wasn't entirely alone after all. I took a deep, rattling breath. Mom, there was a girl at the door. She brought me a note from him, and she mentioned something I don't understand. I have to find out what he meant, I confessed, feeling a flicker of connection light between us. Maybe you should follow that path, Em. It sounds like Jacob wanted you to find something important, she replied, voice softening. We might just need to lean on each other right now. For the first time since that fateful call, I felt a shifted tentative bridge forming between us, born from the ashes of our shared love for Jacob. He'll try, I whispered, allowing a fragile outlet for my determination to emerge. He'll look for what he left behind. As we hung up, the silence returned, but this time it felt different, less suffocating. My heart still ached, but there was something new, an ember of hope sparking in the depths of my sorrow. Yet, my resolve was interrupted by another knock at the door. My pulse quickened. I hadn't been expecting anyone else. I opened it to find an older man, his face etched with lines of hardship and pain. Jacob, he said, voice thick with emotion. I'm his friend. I have something to share about what he left behind. My heart dropped. A new layer of Jacob's life. I barely had the strength to process it, but apparently, the universe still had more to reveal. Would this unravel the threads I had just begun to weave? Come in, I choked out, feeling a mixture of anxiety and urgency rise within. As he stepped inside, I knew one thing for sure. The darkness may have seemed overpowering, but somewhere, in the shadows, glimmering treasures awaited me if only I dared to seek them. The wind howled through the trees outside, a swirling omen as the man stepped into my home. His presence felt heavy, an anchor of grief tethering together our disparate worlds. I locked the door behind him, my heart racing with anticipation and dread. Thank you for saying yes, he murmured, his gaze drifting around the room, recognizing the remnants of what Jacob had left. A faded photograph of us at the beach hung above the mantel, one hand raised high in mock victory, sun-kissed skin glowing with laughter. I know this is difficult, but Jacob spoke about you often. He loved you fiercely. I nodded, unsure whether to offer words of gratitude or retreat further into my cocoon of sadness. What did he leave? My voice quivered, betraying my anxiety. The man took a deep breath. Jacob wanted you to know about a certain notebook of his. It contains his thoughts, his dreams, and most importantly his plans for you, for your future. He had always envisioned a life for you filled with music and joy. When I found it after his voice cracked, when you found it after he passed, I finished, the words laced with bitterness. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why wait to come forward? Because, he paused, meeting my gaze with a steady resolve. Jacob didn't want the pain of his absence to overshadow the gift of what he left behind. It's more than just pages filled with words. It's a map to something he believed you were meant to discover. That a rush of emotions tore through me as I recalled the note had written. My brother's faith in me felt like a soft whisper behind my ear. Where is it? I breathed, eager yet terrified that he held out a small, metallic key. It glimmered in the dim light, a symbol of Pandora's box and its uncertain treasures. He didn't say where it was, but only that you'd find it when the time was right. I've been holding on to that key, waiting for you to be ready. I could barely comprehend the magnitude of what he was offering. My brother's faith had been unwavering. I could feel it surrounding me like a warm embrace, urging me to continue on this path of discovery. What if I can't? I whispered, doubt gnawing at my insides. The man leaned closer, his eyes full of empathy. Jacob believed in your strength, even in silence. You might think you're drowning, believe me. I know that feeling all too well. But sometimes when you're submerged, you find an unexpected current that pushes you toward the surface. Don't let fear keep you from diving in. His words inspired a flicker of courage. I took the key and held it tightly, feeling the cool metal against my palm. If Jacob wanted me to find something, how could I refuse? But the weight of uncertainty lingered, a shadow I could almost touch. How do I start? I asked, anxiety creeping back into my voice. Begin with the places closest to your heart, places you shared. Memories are treasures in themselves, he replied. You have to search by feeling, let your emotions guide you. The rest will follow. I considered his advice, picturing the years we'd spent together in the little coffee shop down the street, where we used to plan our futures over steaming cups of cocoa. There was the old park where we built dreams amidst the trees, laughing until our stomachs hurt. Suddenly, the thought of moving forward felt crushing. What if I uncover something I can't accept? I murmured, staring at the key as if it could offer me assurance. He reached out, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. It's better knowing the whole truth than living in half-realities. Each moment of despair can lead to sparks of joy if you allow it. Jacob wanted you to live truly live. You have the power to shape what that means. As he lifted his hand away, a single tear slipped down my cheek. His kindness offered the faintest hint of solace, a light in a cavernous darkness. But I still felt frightened, terrified of unearthing ghosts I wasn't prepared to confront. Can you help me? I asked, vulnerability cracking my voice. Can we find it together? He nodded slowly, a somber expression crossing his face. I will help you. But remember, this search is ultimately yours. You hold the key to Jacob's legacy. Just as I opened my mouth to thank him, a loud crash echoed from the back of the house, followed by a muffled thud. My heart plunged into a pit of terror as I shot him a panicked look. What was that? A wave of fear washed over me. Stay here. I'll check, he instructed, moving toward the hallway, but my feet were rooted to the spot. The warmth of hope mingled with a dawning sense of dread, demanding I follow the threads of fate where they would lead. Wait. I called out, but he was already striding toward the noise. I took a step forward, then another, my heart racing, driven by an impulsive need for answers. Together, we moved toward the source of the sound. A door creaked open slowly at the end of the hallway. What lay behind that door could shatter everything, or perhaps reveal the very thing Jacob had been guiding me toward. My pulse quickened, and the air grew thick with uncertainty. Would this turn be more than I bargained for? Would I uncover more than just memories? As I approached, the chill of fear gripped my veins. Perhaps sometimes, the key to unlocking one's past leads to a confrontation with the unknown, a dance with shadows that could change everything forever. As we reached the door, I could feel the man beside me tense, every muscle in his body taut with anticipation. The air between us was charged, almost electric, as if the very walls were holding their breath. The noise from the other side had ceased, leaving an eerie silence that settled heavily in the pit of my stomach. Should we really open it? I whispered, my voice barely escaping my lips as the words trembled with uncertainty. Sometimes the things we fear the most hold the power to set us free. He replied quietly, his eyes reflecting a mix of courage and concern. With a deep breath, I reached for the door handle, my hand shaking from the weight of both possibility and fear. I could feel the cool metal against my palm as I turned it, the sound of the latch clicking open echoing in the stillness. With a gentle push, the door creaked open, swinging slowly to reveal a dimly lit room. One I had long forgotten in the maze of my grief. The space was cluttered with memories, boxes labeled with faded markers, discarded furniture draped in dust, and the faint scent of must lingering in the air. But what drew my gaze was the sight of an old, overturned chair in the center of the room. Wisps of dust danced in the rays of light spilling from the window, casting shadows on walls that had witnessed both laughter and tears that my heart raced. What happened here? I asked, stepping cautiously inside, the threshold feeling like a portal into a past I thought I'd buried. Let's take a closer look, he urged, following closely behind. The atmosphere thickened with tension. It was as if we had stumbled into a moment frozen in time, one that carried secrets too heavy to share. As I approached the chair, I noticed it had tipped over near a stack of scattered papers strewn across the floor. The sight of it felt like a cruel reminder of all the moments I had tried to escape. Forcing myself to breathe, I grabbed the nearest paper and unfolded it, my heart pounding as I scanned the words. They were his thoughts, a collection of dreams, fears, and intimate musings. This is his handwriting. I breathed, my voice thick with emotion. It's like he's here with us. The man nodded, a bittersweet smile breaking through the tension. He might be. These writings are pieces of him, reflections of his soul that I continued sifting through the pages, each more poignant than the last. One stood out, a letter addressed to me, written with painstaking care. As I read, the world around me faded. It was just Jacob's voice, raw and tender, speaking directly to my heart. Dear sister, it began. If you're reading this, then I'm no longer there to cheer you on. But I want you to know that I believe in you. I always have. You will face challenges that may seem insurmountable, but trust in your strength. It's deeper than you know. Dive into the depths of your heart, and you will always emerge stronger. Tears filled my eyes as I felt his love wrap around me, a comforting blanket that held back the chills of loneliness. But as I delved deeper into the letter, I stumbled upon something unexpected. The ink began to smudge at the end, the words shifting into a fragment of an unfinished sentence. I fear that the abrupt discontinuation pierced through me like a knife. What was he afraid of? Why hadn't he finished? I felt a new wave of grief clawing its way back up, twisting my heart in a vice-like grip. I needed answers, yet the relentless questions left me gasping for breath. What is it? The man's voice was soft, but there was an urgency behind it. He starts to say something, but then it just stops. It's like he was trying to tell me something important. I stammered, the crumpled paper shaking in my hands. What could he have been afraid of? He stepped closer, observing the trembling words as if they held a clue to unlock the heartache that loomed over us both. Maybe it's a part of the journey that needs to unfold in its own time. But perhaps he wanted you to consider something. Suddenly, the front door swung open with a deafening creak, startling both of us. I dropped the paper in shock as an unfamiliar figure abruptly appeared in the doorway, a woman, her hair wild and her eyes wide with frantic intensity. I'm sorry. I need help. Please. She gasped, breathless and teetering at the edge of panic. My body tensed, caught in a rush of disbelief. What had just happened? Had destiny stirred the pot of fate once more, intertwining our paths with another thread of chaos? The weight of Jacob's unfinished words hung in the air, a quiet reminder that our journey was far from over and the truth was not yet revealed. Who are you? I managed to ask, the fear in her eyes igniting a spark of curiosity within me. I know your brother. He told me to find you. He's in danger, she cried, stumbling forward into the room. The world around me shifted, shadows deepening as anticipation raced through my veins. In that moment, uncertainty enveloped us like a storm, pushing me toward a decision I was not yet ready to face. Did this woman hold the key to unveiling not only Jacob's secrets, but also a new chapter of my own journey? The threads of fear, hope, and destiny collided, urging me to embrace the chaos that lay before us all. The woman's erratic breaths filled the space as she clutched her stomach, her eyes flickering between mine and the man by my side. He had taken a cautious step back, his initial resolve replaced with a wary protectiveness that seemed to light up the room around us. Danger? I echoed, heart racing. What do you mean he's in danger? Jacob is gone. No, she cried, shaking her head fervently, her wild hair framing a face etched with distress. Not gone. He needs your help. I can't explain everything now, but please, you have to trust me. He mentioned you, and I promised I'd find you. I felt the air grow thick with tension. The words tumbled out of her mouth like chaotic leaves caught in an autumn wind. Each revelation was a punch to my heart, both stirring hope and amplifying fear. The notion that Jacob was alive sent tremors through my body, pulling at frayed threads of attachment I thought I had severed. Why would he send you? I pressed, grappling for clarity amidst the chaos of emotions swirling within me. Her eyes narrowed, desperation now foreboding, and despite the satisfying ache of hope stirring within, a torrential wave of fear washed over me. Jacob, I whispered, as though my thoughts might carry to him through the dark. Suddenly, a piercing scream shattered the stillness, echoing from the end of the alley. My heart dropped, and the girl halted mid-step. We need to hurry, she urged. But as we started to sprint forward, the unmistakable sound of footsteps echoed behind us. I turned to see a dark figure emerging from the shadows, eyes locked on us with deadly intent. Run? I yelled, adrenaline surging as danger crystallized into the air around us. But as we raced ahead, past the alley's mouth, a chilling realization washed over me. Our pursuit had just begun, and hidden truths were lurking just beneath the surface, waiting to intertwine with our lives in ways we had yet to understand. The darkness of the alley swallowed us with its oppressive weight, the adrenaline coursing through my veins propelling my feet forward, yet doubts tangled within me like stray threads. Jacob was alive, but so was the fear that had become all too familiar. Could we really reach him in time? The woman's frantic plea echoed in my mind. If we didn't act, he could be lost forever. Which way? My companion yelled over the pounding cadence of our footsteps. Left. Around the corner. She shouted back, darting gracefully to the side, ushering us with urgency. I followed instinctively, my heart thrumming chaotically as I turned to keep pace with her. The world spun into action. Our breaths mingled with the cool night air, the hollowness of the alley at our backs filled with the distant growl of approaching footsteps. We turned, the woman leading us through twists and turns until the shadows grew thinner, gradually giving way to the glow of streetlights. Each flickering bulb felt like a lifeline, illuminating the path, but also illuminating the heavy weight of our plight. Then, in an unexpected turn, she led us into a cafe with fogged-up windows, the kind of place that radiated warmth and the scent of freshly brewed coffee, an inviting refuge amidst the chaos. Inside, the cafe was busy, filled with the quiet hum of conversation that felt like a distant memory to me. For a brief moment, the soft glimmers of lights and the clinking of mugs submerged us in a sense of normalcy that felt almost nostalgic. I took a breath. It should have been soothing, yet it only amplified the anxiety brewing within me. The woman motioned for us to huddle closer. We need to stay inconspicuous, she urged, her voice a tense whisper. I'll explain what's happening, but first, we have to catch our breath. Our bodies were still aglow with adrenaline, yet the warmth of the cafe contrasted sharply with the impending danger outside. The man next to me gave me a reassuring nod as we settled into a booth at the far end. What I saw in his eyes spoke volumes, and unyielding loyalty mixed with concern. He too felt the weight of what was unfolding. Just then, the woman hastily pulled out her phone, the screen lighting up with a map. Jacob's safe house isn't far, but you have to understand, if we're followed, we could lose everything. Please, just tell me where he is. I need to see him. I need to know he's okay, I urged, clutching my hands at the table, the tremor in my fingers betraying my already frayed nerves. She looked between us, her gaze steady yet haunted. He's in hiding, staying under the radar. He knows things about an organization. That the cafe door swung open abruptly, the bell above it clanging. My heart leapt into my throat as my breath stilled. A tall figure entered, scanning the room as if searching for something or someone. Do you see him? My companion whispered urgently, his body tense. I know. I shook my head, but my eyes remained glued to the figure. Panic surged throughout the cafe, yet the stranger didn't linger long. He turned and stepped back outside, leaving the door buzzing shut behind him. Who was that? I asked, my voice a fragile thread. Just someone, the woman replied, brow furrowed. But we can't stay much longer. If he's looking for Jacob, we should assume others are too. Suddenly, I felt a sense of responsibility tug at me. What does Jacob know that could put him in danger? I questioned, forcing my heart to navigate through despair and fear, longing for the solid ground of understanding. It's not just about him, she replied, her voice trembling. It's what he found out about the organization. It involves people you'd never suspect. They orchestrate everything. Jacob believed they were using his research for something dark. Her words faltered, eyes glossing over with worry. I wish I could tell you more, but it's not so simple. That I wanted to scream, to tear apart the uncertainty as it spilled into my heart like poison. We sat in silence. The weight of the truth pressed down upon us, the cafe's warmth no longer comforting but suffocating. But then, just as I began to feel the walls closing in, a feather-light touch grazed my arm. I turned to see the man next to me squeezing my hand, a small gesture, yet it ignited a spark of hope. We'll get through this, he reminded me softly. Together, I whispered, the unity between us a fragile seed of strength amidst the storm brewing beyond our little sanctuary. Before I could delve deeper into the moment we shared, the woman's eyes snapped back to the door, her expression shifting to one of alarm. We have to go now. We scrambled out of the booth, my heart racing as the rush of urgency propelled us into motion again. As we slipped out of the cafe into the cool night air, I felt the world drawing in, the shadows growing larger, alive with the unspeakable dangers that lurked in every corner. But true terror gripped me as I turned my gaze down the street. The tall figure stood at the end, a silhouette merging seamlessly with the night. My breath caught in my throat. He was watching us. Run! The woman shouted, her voice cutting through the silence. Adrenaline surged, and my legs propelled me forward, a prayer for Jacob spiraling through my mind. As we sprinted down the street, weaving through the dark alleys, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of uncovering something monumental, something that threatened to shatter our existence, even if it led us to Jacob. And as fate would have it, just beyond the corner, I froze. The alley ahead opened up into a vacant lot, eerily illuminated by a single flickering streetlight. In the center stood Jacob, disheveled and alive, but surrounded by figures cloaked in shadows, their voices too low to discern. Jacob, I called, my heart lurching. But before he could turn, the dark figures enveloped him, wielding power that paralyzed me with fear. In that moment, every ounce of hope I had grasped tightly shattered, mirroring the ground beneath me, splintering into horrifying fragments that sent my mind tumbling down an irrevocable path. This was just the beginning. The strength I sought lay not in answers, but in confronting the truth, no matter the cost. The road ahead seemed to pulse with uncertainty, a living entity orchestrated by fear and adrenaline. Jacob stood just out of reach, the flickering light casting shadows upon faces that were devoid of clarity, yet suffused with looming menace. I felt a rush of helplessness pierce me like a shard of glass, each anguished breath carrying with it the weight of what could happen. Jacob, I shouted again, desperation clawing at my throat. Panic spilled over, sending my thoughts racing. The world narrowed down to him, his safety, his knowledge, the dimly flickering hope residing in my heart. The figures surrounding him seemed to hesitate, all eyes shifting in my direction. Time stretched, an endless moment fraught with impending dread. Run! The woman's voice broke through my fear-stricken haze. But my body remained rooted, my feet feeling as if they had fused with the ground, unable to escape the horrific tableau unfolding before me. Please, Jacob, I implored. My hands grasped at nothing, my heart shrieking in tandem with the rising tide of chaos. And then, as if struck by a sudden awakening, Jacob turned. Our eyes locked, his expression softening momentarily, but within it flickered an urgency and implicit warning that sliced through my despair. Get out of here. They're not, he started, but the figures were already closing in, their intent palpable, their determination unyielding. Jacob, I choked out, the fear coiling tightly around my chest. In an instant, I understood that I was teetering at the precipice of irreversible choices. Go, he shouted, the command echoing through the night, sharp and clear. In that heartbeat, something within me ignited a will to fight stirred, pushing against the tide of fear. As if breaking free from an invisible tether, I propelled myself forward. "We won't leave you." My voice rang out, sharp against the backdrop of uncertainty. The figures turned, momentarily distracted, and in that instant, the woman seized my arm, pulling me back towards the cover of shadow. "You can't save him like this," she urged, panic lacing her tone. "It's too dangerous. We have to regroup, think." But the resolve deep within me had solidified. It clamored for Jacob, for the truth buried in the depths of his struggle. I tugged free from her grip, watching as the figures closed in on him, their intentions as hidden as their faces. Everything within me screamed to act. "No," I said, shaking my head as resolve hardened my features. "I have to do something." Before I could articulate another word, chaos erupted. The figures lunged forward in a rush, and Jacob fought back, his movements a blend of desperation and conviction. I could see him struggling against them, one arm broken free, glimpses of fierce determination lighting his features even amidst the shadows. My heart raced, every instinct screaming to charge in, but doubt pricked at my resolve. Just as fear threatened to swallow me whole again, the man I barely knew caught my eye. He appeared at my side, a tight smile stretching across his face as he whispered urgently, "We'll create a distraction." "You go, are you insane?" I hissed, torn between gratitude and determination to keep him safe too. "Trust me," he urged, a spark evident behind the urgency of his words. With a determined nod, he charged forward, calling out loudly in a voice that echoed like thunder, "Hey, over here." For a fleeting moment, the figures surrounding Jacob turned, their attention diverted. Unsure of whether to feel thankful or fearful, I sprang into motion. With the woman at my side, we surged toward Jacob, our hands outstretched in a desperate attempt to pull him back before darkness enveloped him once again. But another figure materialized from the shadows, swift and powerful, intercepting us like a barrier. "Stop!" he yelled, voice echoing with authority that sent chills coursing through me. I stumbled back, taken aback as panic threatened to spiral out, choking whatever hope lingered. "No!" I yelled, my voice swallowed by the night. In that moment, fear surged up the back of my throat. I felt raw, an exposed nerve in the face of harrowing odds. Just as Jacob turned to face the approaching men, his expression etched with fear and duty, hope flickered anew through the thick cloud of dread, a glimmer that this fight could mean something. Then, an unexpected sound broke through the charge of emotions. Loud sirens blared in the distance, growing closer with every heartbeat. I held on to that sound like a lifeline as it sliced through the tension. "Please, keep him safe," I yelled to the man who had created the distraction as he maneuvered to buy us time. Suddenly, as the sirens drew nearer, the figures hesitated. The air thickened with tension, everything shifted dynamics in an instant, their resolve faltering. In that slice of uncertainty, Jacob seized the moment. He took a step back, his eyes catching mine in one last, fierce glance. It was filled with a mix of gratitude, urgency, and unshakable resolve. "Go," he shouted one last time before he broke from the chaos and bolted down an adjacent alley. That I found my voice once more, heart pounding to a rhythm of resolve. "Jacob!" I screamed, an echo fading along with him. But before I could make sense of what had happened, before I could push forward to chase him, the world pitched suddenly. I turned back to find the man crouched low, sweat dripping down his forehead, as he faced the figures with defiance etched against his brow. "We're not finished yet," he asserted, standing tall despite the threat looming overhead. And then it hit me. Clash of emotions awakened within me, a force unlike anything I'd known before. Hope intertwined with fear, but it ignited a fire deep within. This wasn't merely about Jacob anymore. It was about something much larger, something we needed to confront together, no matter the cost. I caught up to the man's side. I exchanged one last glance with the woman, determination igniting within us both. "We need answers." And the sirens approached, a beacon of hope, a reminder that while darkness was thick, the light was never entirely extinguished. Then, as the distant sounds of chaos grew nearer, our hearts took a deep breath, preparing for what came next. But just as I felt that friction of hope grow bolder, I saw it had terrible, unthinkable teen-off flicker of recognition washed over the figures. Their eyes shifted towards me, piercing deep like arrows of clarity. "Get down," I screamed, but as a pounding cold terror tore through me, I realized I was no longer sure who the pursuit was truly against. The realization settled heavy upon us. We had stepped into a battle against something much darker. And in that moment, beneath the rush of sirens and the shadows cloaking us, I feared we had unearthed not just a fight for survival, but a revelation that would shift everything we believed. This truth, this weight, would change our lives forever. The air crackled with tension, the sirens blaring like a harbinger of chaos. My heart raced not merely from the fear of the encroaching figures, but from the sudden understanding that we were all part of something far larger, something that had been simmering beneath the surface long before this night. As the sirens wailed closer, punctuating the silence with their relentless urgency, I could feel my resolve harden. "We need to keep moving," I urged, grabbing the man's arm, my voice trembling but steady. His expression flickered with uncertainty, but beneath the sweat and strain, a quiet determination held firm. "Where do we go?" he asked, casting a glance at the looming shadows. It was a question that carried the weight of every decision we would have to make tonight. That I took a deep breath, the air thick with smoke and anticipation. It wasn't just Jacob's safety that hung in the balance. It was the shadowy truth that lurked in the dark corners of our lives, the reality we had yet to confront. "There's an old warehouse at the end of the street. If we can make it there, we can regroup." His eyes widened briefly, doubt creeping in. But what about him? A raw ache formed in my chest at the thought of Jacob. Each beat of my heart echoed the countless memories we had forged, the moments of laughter, of shared secrets, of an unbreakable connection that bound us together. We weren't just fighting for survival, we were fighting for a future that felt increasingly out of reach. "Please," I urged, locking my gaze with his. "We try to help him." Together, the urgency of the sirens echoed like a pulse in the night, igniting something deep within me. "Let's go." Now, with a determined nod, we surged forward, navigating through the younger shadows of the city, the chill of uncertainty weighing heavily on our shoulders. Each rustle of leaves was a whisper from a past we were desperate to escape, while the darkness around us loomed with malicious intent. As we reached the warehouse, the world seemed to constrict with the weight of what could still happen. Grimy and forgotten, the building stood like a sentinel at the edge of our choices, a reminder of the fragility of hope. I pushed open the door, the sound of creaking metal a grim welcome that echoed into the hollow depths of the space. Inside, the scent of aged wood and rust enveloped us. Shadows danced in the corners, mere whispers of the past mingling with our fear. "We'll be safe here for now," I murmured, although even I could feel the tremor in my own voice. The man leaned against a wall, catching his breath, eyes scanning the dark. "What do we do next?" "I don't know," I admitted, the truth spilling out like an unraveling thread. "But I can't leave him behind." It felt like an oath, a promise that bound me tighter to Jacob's fate. The man nodded, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of respect in his gaze. It was a small moment of hope in the burgeoning storm, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, kindness could still flicker like a candle in the shadows. That we waited, hearts thudding in sync with the sirens still ringing out across the night sky. Each moment stretched dangerously long, anticipation wrapping around us like a tight noose. Chilled whispers of doubt danced at the edges of my mind, taunting me with memories of all that lay ahead. "Do you think he made it?" I murmured, perhaps more to myself than to him. The vast expanse of uncertainty loomed between us, feeling as endless as the night itself. Before he could respond, movement flickered at the far end of the warehouse. A figure materialized from the shadows, cloaked in the eerie dim light. My heart seized, the flicker of hope crashing back into fear. "Jacob? Stay back." His voice was hoarse, harsh with a weight I could hear even from across the room. He stepped into the faint light, and relief surged through me only to be overshadowed by horror as I caught the sight of him. His lip was split, blood trickling down to stain his shirt, and an ugly bruise marred the skin around his eye. The fight had taken its toll, yet beneath it all, I saw the fierce spark of resilience in his eyes. "Jacob," I cried, rushing forward. But he held a hand up, a look of strained urgency flickering in his gaze. "No," he warned, voice low, warning us of a danger that thrummed beneath the surface. "It's not safe." You shouldn't have come here. Then we need to leave, I insisted, fear creeping back as I realized how close we had come to being consumed by the darkness. They're coming for you. He shook his head, an intensity pulsating through him. It's not that simple. They're not just after me. Confusion twisted in my gut. The weight of his words carried an implication I hadn't anticipated. What do you mean? Before he could answer, the lighting flickered an ominous pulse that sent shivers racing down my spine. And just like that, the silence shattered as footsteps echoed from outside, determined and insistent. Jacob, we need to hide, I urged, my mind racing against the encroaching dread. Yet, the arrival of the figures from before twisted through my thoughts like a knife. What did Jacob know? What truth had been buried beneath the layers of our lives that could unsettle everything we believed? As the door rattled on its hinges, my heart surged with a primal scream to protect those around me. Our collective fragility unraveled before me, stark and unyielding. And then, he spoke one final, haunting truth that seared the air between us. It's about the files. They think I have them, and if they find me, everything will change. In that moment, I realized we'd become entangled in a web far more sinister than I could ever have imagined, a fight that transcended mere survival, one that would ripple out far beyond this night. Then the door burst open, and darkness surged forward, consuming the light, bathing us in fear as the figures closed in. The urgency clawed at my throat, and I felt the world pitch as chaos erupted, a cacophony of sound and terror. And with that final, shattering revelation echoing in my mind, I steeled myself for the battle to come, knowing that the true fight for our future had only just begun. The chaos erupted as the door flew open, a shard of darkness slicing through our makeshift refuge, and in an instant, everything shifted. The figures that spilled across the threshold were silhouettes of malice, their intentions cloaked in the urgency of their entrance. My heart raced, a relentless drumbeat of dread and desperation. Jacob, back! I screamed, my instinct overriding any rational thought. I lunged forward, crossing the distance between us in a heartbeat. The man at my side followed my lead, his features twisting in panic as the intruders advanced. Stand down. A voice barked, low and commanding, echoing in the hollow space. The lead figure stepped into the feeble light of the warehouse, revealing a face I recognized from the depths of my subconscious. A name spat in whispers among the fearful. Logan. I barely whispered, the realization coiling in my chest like a viper. He was the ghost of all our nightmares. Logan smirked, the corners of his mouth twisting into a malevolent smile. Look what we have here, a family reunion. The tone was mocking, dripping with disdain, yet it was his eyes that held the coldest truth. He wasn't merely here for Jacob. He was here for all of us. Before I could formulate a response, a sudden movement behind him caught my attention, a flash of light, a glinting blade, poised cruelly in his hand. The severity of it brought the stark reality crashing down over me. Get away from him, I shouted, anger surging through me like a tide, rising against the undercurrent of fear. The man beside me glanced to Jacob, whose tense posture spoke volumes. We were cornered in the lion's den. Doesn't matter which way you run. You know this ends badly for you, kid. Logan's voice resonated, smooth but ice-cold, relentless in its promise. Enough, Jacob spoke, stepping out from behind the fragile shield of protection I offered. Fury mingled with desperation in his expression, igniting a fire that reminded me of the bond we shared, one that had endured long before this night. Yet, I could see the fear that gnawed at him, a fear that wove through every fiber of his being. Jacob, don't I reached for him, my heart constricting as I felt the weight of the moment, but he interrupted. You don't get it. You think you can intimidate me, Logan? This isn't just about your petty games. You want me, but you have no idea what you're truly dealing with. His voice trembled, the underlying tension raw and unyielding. In that instant, something deep within him sparked a light amidst the encroaching darkness. A flash of courage that halted the breath in my chest. Before Logan could retort, the man at my side broke the silence, fueled by newfound determination. We're not afraid of you. Logan's eyes narrowed, a mix of contempt and intrigue dancing upon his features. Brave words from a fridge full of shadows. He glanced back at a couple of his henchmen. Make them understand. The moment spiraled into chaos as they advanced, and instinct kicked in. I turned to Jacob, my palms clammy and heart racing. We need to do something. Together. I in that heartbeat. His eyes met mine, and I felt the weight of everything we had endured, the laughter, the loss, the unrelenting hope that now teetered on the brink. On three, Jacob breathed, igniting a flicker of resilience within me. 1, 2, 3, I shouted, and in an instinctual motion, we exploded into action. As we darted toward the back of the warehouse, the sound of pounding footsteps echoed behind us like the thunder of an approaching storm. I could feel the sharp sting of fear clawing at my throat, yet I pressed forward, propelled by the desperate need to protect him, to find a way out of the impending disaster. But just as we reached a narrow corridor, the air shifted, growing thick with tension. The heavy footsteps closed in, and I stole a glance back. Logan was too close, his smile more sinister than ever. In the blinking chaos, a realization crashed over me. We're trapped, I cried, panic sweeping through me like a tidal wave. The back of the corridor loomed ahead, an impassable wall that thwarted our escape. Hold on, Jacob urged, a fierce determination igniting in his gaze. We can't stop. Not now. In a desperate move, I barreled through the narrow space ahead, hoping against hope it would lead us somewhere, anywhere away from the encroaching threat. Jacob's hand clasped over mine, a warm anchor amidst the horror, but even that comfort felt fragile. Then suddenly, we stumbled into a spacious room, the remnants of an old assembly line filling the shadows. The dust-coated machinery sat like forgotten memories, waiting to serve a different purpose. The door we came through shuddered under the pressure of pursuers behind us, the sound sending nails of fear into my heart. But a flicker of daring sparked within me, fueled by adrenaline. We can barricade the door. My mind raced through possibilities, strategizing in the face of despair. Right, Jacob nodded, and together we shoved heavy crates into place, our hearts racing, the sirens still screeching in the distancia, continuous reminder of the chaos enveloping our lives. As we finished securing the door, the sound of Logan's mocking laughter filtered through, a cruel reminder that he was still out there, intent on unearthing the truths we had buried deep. Nice try, but it won't hold forever. His voice dripped with malice, an ominous forecast that settled like a weight in the corners of my mind. With every heartbeat, the quiet between us thickened, unspoken fears coiling around us like a fog. What truth did Jacob hold, and how much danger loomed over us because of it? Jacob, tell me what you know, I pressed, desperation clawing at my throat. What are the files about? Why is Logan after you? His gaze flickered to mine, anguish pooling in the depths. It's not just about this night. It's about everything that's been happening, everything we've ignored. But before he could gather his thoughts, a sound broke through the veil of Tenziona's soft tapping, almost tender against the chaos outside. I turned, startled, and saw a small jagged window at the far end of the room. A gentle light flickered through the glass, beckoning like a ghost from the past. Look, I murmured, hope mixing with apprehension. Someone's out there. But the realization brought with it an uncertainty, a reminder that the darkness was not just external, but clawed at us from within. Just then, chaos erupted as the crates we'd piled began to shift. A sudden force crashed against the barricade, and my heart dropped. We need to move now, I shouted, a surge of panic pushing my feet to act. As we turned towards the window, I felt that familiar pull of fear, the darkness threatening to overtake us. Every moment hung heavy in the air, filled with uncertainty, but among it, the fragile beat of hope persisted. Trust me, Jacob said, our eyes locking once more. And in that moment, I saw a glimpse of the strength I had always believed was within him, the knowing that together we might weather this storm. But then, the sound of shattering glass filled the air, a chilling prelude to the unraveling of everything we thought we knew. And at that moment, I realized we were standing on the precipice of a truth that would change us all forever. I stood frozen, the shards of glass glinting like knives around us, while the cacophony of chaos surged outside, drowning out everything but the relentless echo of my own heartbeat. My breath hitched in my throat, an instinctual urge to retreat clawing at my insides. But the piercing glances exchanged with Jacob ignited a spark of resolve deep within me. What now? I whispered, panic threading through my voice. But he merely stepped closer, determination radiating from him like a lighthouse amidst a storm. We fight. We can't let them control our narrative. The words washed over me like a familiar melody, one ID all but forgotten in the abyss of despair. It was the tenacity ID seen in him countless times before, that undying spirit that had fueled our shared dreams. I drew in a shaky breath, grounding myself in the present. Together? I asked, the question hanging soft in the air, both a plea and a declaration. His nod was all the assurance I needed. Those two simple words encapsulated an unbreakable bond that no darkness could sever. Suddenly, a powerful thud reverberated through the barricade, and the crates shifted slightly. The sound jolted me into action. We pressed our bodies against the wall, listening intently to the muffled orders shouted outside. It was a matter of seconds before those men breached our fragile sanctuary. Jacob, the files, I urged, my breath quickening. Why do they want you? What could be so important? His expression shifted, a flicker of pain crossing his features. They're not just after me. They're afraid of what I've found off the truth hidden within those pages. The organization's secrets thief infiltrated everything, everyone we love. My heart sank, a visceral dread coursing through me. If he was right, then this entire fight stretched far beyond our immediate danger. It was a battle for everything we held dear. But how did you find out? We need to get that information out. I pressed, desperation clawing at my throat that I was digging into my research. He continued, urgency resonating in every syllable. I stumbled upon hidden files that detail their operations, things they don't want anyone to know. If they get hold of that knowledge, he faltered, the weight of his conviction pulling us both under again. Before I could respond, another violent crash erupted against the makeshift barricade, splintering the wood and sending fear rippling through my core. The time for conversation was fading. Move, I yelled, gesturing toward the window, my heart racing with dread and determination. There's a ledge. We can escape. Jacob grasped the edge of my arm, quickening my steps as we approached the splintered opening. The outside world loomed before us, a web of uncertainty tangled with our frail hopes for survival. I could feel the pulse of fear rapidly rising, but I pushed forward, fueled by adrenaline and the need to keep him safe. As we climbed carefully through the jagged frame, the cool night air wrapped around us like a bomb, igniting the resolve deep within. We slipped onto the narrow ledge, our breaths mingling with the rustling energies of the city below. This way, Jacob whispered, edging forward, his trust in my instincts anchoring us both. We traversed the thin ledge, our hearts pounding in unison. I could feel the weight of darkness clawing behind us, the distant shadows of looming threats pushing us to our limits. Suddenly, I felt a flicker of movement behind me and jerked around, only to see the glimmer of a flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. They're right behind us, I shouted, fear rushing through me like a cold wave. Run, Jacob urged, pulling me forward as we dashed along the ledge without looking back. The sounds of pursuit echoed in a haunting countdown behind us. There was no safety in looking back. But as we rounded the corner, desperation and determination ignited a furious energy. We jumped down to the next level, narrowly avoiding a collision with the cold ground below. I landed hard, but we didn't pause, sprinting toward the nearest alley, adrenaline fueling every move. In that moment, everything melted. Away the pain, uncertainty, fear, and all that existed was our entwined fight for survival. In those brief seconds, I wasn't merely following him. I was fiercely reclaiming the strength we had almost lost. There, beneath the surface of chaos, I felt an undeniable connection holding us together, a lifeline woven from threads of hope and love. We rounded a corner and ducked behind a dumpster, panting heavily, our breaths mingling with the heavy humidity of the night. Did we lose them? I whispered, my voice shaking with a mixture of exhilaration and apprehension. I think so, Jacob replied, scanning the darkened streets. But we can't stop. His eyes locked onto mine, the truth settling between us as he drew in a deep breath. We need to find that information. We can't let them silence us. The weight of understanding settled over me, a fierce loyalty igniting within. Then we find it together. But first, we need to know they can't follow us. We need to create a diversion. A slow smile crossed his lips, and I could feel the heat of his determination radiating off him like fire. I knew you'd say that. He grasped my hand firmly, the contact sending warmth through my veins that we began to formulate a plan, our voices low with a sense of urgency intertwined with excitement, brainstorming on how to outsmart those closing in on us. As we took stock of our surroundings, a glance from him ignited a charge of hope and purpose that washed over me. Without another word, we moved deeper into the alleys, weaving between half-lit street corners, until we found ourselves in front of an old abandoned building, one that had long forgotten the sound of laughter, one that echoed with memories and shadows. "This is it," Jacob breathed, his gaze focused. "The files must be here." I remember the entry point from my research. We entered the building, which groaned in protest at our intrusion, shrouded in dust and memories. I could feel every fiber of uncertainty spike within me. But beside me, Jacob's conviction illuminated a path forward. The layout was a mere maze filled with echoes of a time long past, memories obscured by the filth of neglect. Each step felt like traversing sacred ground. "This is where it begins," Jacob whispered, reverence threading his voice. Together we navigated the desolation. Every old poster and rusted beam ignited fragments of the past. "We're here. We have to find the answers," I echoed, the pulse of determination filling our shared resolve. Suddenly, a creaking noise interrupted the silence, and I froze. "What was that?" I asked, every instinct on high alert. Jacob tensed, eyes narrowing. We held our breaths, waiting, hearts pounding in anticipation. Then, out of the shadows, a figure stepped forward, his face obscured in the dim light. "You shouldn't have come here," he said, his voice low and menacing. Logan, in an instant. Everything came crashing down. The fragile tether of hope I clung to snapped as fear engulfs me. The cycle of darkness had circled back, and my heart felt hollow, stripped of the certainty I had just grasped. "Get back," Jacob shouted, instinctively positioning himself between me and the encroaching threat. "We're not finished here." But just as Logan stepped closer, a sudden light pierced through the darkness, illuminating the interior of the building. The entrance was flooded with officers, their voices sharp and commanding, their presence a harbinger of the storm yet to come. The weight of uncertainty pulled me away from the brink of despair. Suddenly, as light flooded the room, everything shifted. In that moment, I realized, while the darkness threatened, the light was never truly extinguished. We, too, could embrace our power. We weren't battling alone. With newfound confidence, I glanced at Jacob, my heart infusing with an electric urgency. "Now," I shouted, adrenaline coursing. Together, we charged towards the entrance, our steps echoing against the rain-soaked pavement below. As the figures of law and order closed in, we wove through the remnants of a fragile past toward an uncertain yet hopeful future. It was time to confront the darkness. Head-on united not just in survival, but in a shared fight for truth, vengeance, and the promise of rebuilding our narrative anew. And as long as we held each other tightly, I knew that together, forging ahead into the storm, we would emerge victorious, no matter the cost. With each stride forward, the reality we reclaimed wrapped itself around us like a cherished cloak, unbreakable, unyielding, and fiercely bright. From that moment forward, it would be up to us to redefine our story, to illuminate the shadows with the brilliance of our own resolve. And, in the silence that ensued, I finally understood. Love could not only conquer darkness, but light the way for all the adventures yet to come. Letting hope guide me, I took a final breath before leaping into the uncertain white light, ready to rewrite the tale of my life, one fearless step at a time. In the shadows, I could feel Jacob's presence beside me, and together we would forge a new path, unearthing the hidden treasures of the truth that lay waiting to be discovered.